It all starts in the city of Seoul right in the year 1990. Man. You can see a giant building with some crazy guy, promising a quick 30% profit. Just then, a very frustrated guy slams the desk hard, demanding a straight answer. The employees try to calm the suit down while he yells, asking if they don't know who he is. Then, a very smiley young man calls him by his name and shows he knows he's the president. The older guy is startled when the rookie promises to make more than 40% in returns. This super confident kid guarantees he'll make the money grow a lot in just 1 month. The client asks if that's true, and the broker says he's going to make the deal happen. At that point, the rich guy wants to know how, and the young man mentions the name of a very unknown company. He explains that, back in those days, this stock was completely ignored by the entire market. The main character's gaze gets really sharp, showing he trusts his own word way too much. He shares that the government is soon going to release an export notice, making the stock skyrocket. A female coworker hears everything and is shocked by the crazy 3-week prediction. The rookie smiles, saying he'll pay the difference out of his own pocket if things go terribly wrong. But in exchange, he wants the guy to introduce him to his partners if the prediction is right. The young man leans forward, asking if the president will agree to the crazy deal. The man walks away grumbling and warns that his little plan better actually work. The coworker hands him a coffee, praising his smooth way of handling a difficult client. Meanwhile, the young man thinks to himself that this is already the second time he's living in that past year. The woman laughs, saying she didn't expect the guy to be such a genius right off the bat. He just holds his coffee cup in silence, thinking about everything that just went down right there. The time traveler knows his prediction will only work because he passed away in the year 2020. Looking at his reflection in the drink, he remembers when he went back in time and entered this body. In the future where he came from, a very dangerous illness was affecting the entire world. During those bizarre times, a positive test showed the despair of all the people. 2 guys had their names put on a list of casualties stained in red, except their disappearance was a setup, and they used the global crisis as a perfectly crafted lie. The truth is, the young man took a heavy hit right to the face in a very cowardly attack. A man holds the main character's injured friend, forcing his ally to watch everything, and he was left with a serious injury, falling to the ground because of some very mysterious wrongdoings. After all that drama, the kid's soul went to the past, and he became the new employee. Holding his head in pain, he notices he didn't just bring his own memories. The former owner's body still seems to hold very strong remnants of his past life. The original owner's memories and feelings are getting really clear in his mind. This is very bizarre for him, because he was never one to feel strong emotions before. But now he gets a determined look and finally begins to understand the situation. Walking through the crowded streets, the main character tries to handle everything he's feeling. He gives a smile and whispers that he doesn't even care about this flood of emotions taking over. Looking at the company building, he realizes what he feels in his chest is pure anger and a desire for payback. And with a very dark look, the traveler says he's finally feeling truly alive. The scene shifts, showing a beautifully blue sky over a very fancy building. A crying baby becomes the heir to one of the top 3 richest groups in the country. The child grew up being called a genius and carrying the weight of everyone's expectations. The mother smiles happily because the little prodigy started speaking at just 5 months old. By the age of 3, the little boy already knew how to speak several languages, reading huge books in his room. He won trophies for music and arts, and everyone saw the boy as the future boss of it all. Everything was going extremely well until a doctor revealed an unupsetting rumor about the boy. The parents are devastated when they hear their son has serious trouble communicating with them. The doctor explains that the boy repeats actions and has an obsession with very limited things. With that, the couple hits rock bottom upon finding out the boy is on the severe end of the autism spectrum. The mother cries intensely while the doctor says the boy has what's known as savant syndrome. Then, the little guy ended up locked in his room, and his world was isolated from everyone else. At that moment, you can see a tiny hand trying to open the heavy door that was locked, but an adult grabs him very forcefully, and tells the boy to stop that nonsense. The father kneels down in a rage, asking why his son won't obey and wants to go out. Grabbing the boy's shirt, he makes the poor kid promise to never wander off again. This harsh life went on for more than 10 years until the parents lost their lives in a terrible plane crash. We then see the beautiful memorial altar with pictures of the couple surrounded by lots of flowers. The young orphan, who is now a teenager, just watches everything in silence with a very blank expression. At that moment, the guy hears a girl complaining heavily about having to marry a monster. An older man yells at her, saying the marriage would give her the entire company. The girl replies with a lot of hatred, saying she finds this whole situation deeply humiliating. Furious, the suit grabs her clothes, telling the young woman to shut her mouth right then and there. He explains there's over 1 trillion waiting for a signature on that paper. The older guy says she's lived in luxury her whole life and should just accept this deal smoothly. The heiress swallows her tears and looks down very quietly, accepting her grim fate. She agrees with her father and asks him to stop yelling while the old man hugs her. Out of nowhere, the wicked old man pulls the young orphan's hair really hard, causing a lot of pain. At that moment, the bad guy drags the boy across the memorial hall, scolding him for just standing there. Thrown to the ground, the poor kid stays on his knees while the villain demands he apologize. Then another suit grabs the teenager's head, ordering the younger one to bow down. The bride looks at the young man with disgust, covering her nose, and says they shouldn't waste time there. The lackey holds the boy's head, saying he'll soon be tossed into a village. With a wicked smile, he reveals the plan to lock the young man up and make him disappear later. The older guy lets out an evil laugh, celebrating that the whole company would be his. The poor boy is tossed without an ounce of pity into a filthy little room. While the villains laugh, fallen on the dirty floor, the young man just widens his eyes, unable to do a single thing. Just as the villain wanted, the youth was secretly taken to a house in the middle of nowhere. Locked in the dark, he began living alone, ignoring the awful food thrown on the floor. But a kind stranger arrived, being the only one to treat him well. The nice worker rubs the prisoner's head, noticing his extremely long hair. Taking the young man outside, he cuts the guy's hair, asking him about the trim. This cool guy took care of the isolated main character for 10 long years, building a friendship. In the present, the reincarnated guy gets upset remembering that this friend sacrificed himself to protect him. With his hand on his chest, the traveler finally understands the feelings of the original body. Clenching his fists tightly, the youth is filled with rage over the fate of his only friend. With eyes burning with hatred, the guy swears to himself he won't be a fool anymore. Right then, a coworker taps his shoulder and snaps him out of his trance, asking what's up with the ugly face. The older guy smiles casually, seeing that the new employee's shoulders are tense. The boy stays quiet for a few seconds, trying to hide his cold payback plan. Then the older guy walks away, waving goodbye and telling the young man to loosen up more. The main character's gaze gets really sharp, knowing he'll use the future to beat them. You can see the rich bosses of that dirty firm, whom the reincarnated guy wants to take down soon. With a firm posture, he promises to finish his double payback, becoming the family's worst nightmare. Nearby, an anxious employee asks if someone can lend out the stock ledger. The suits search their desks for the paper because they need to make a quick purchase. We see the blue monitor screen with a frozen order, needing a specific firm's number. The coworker types on the white keyboard, saying he needs the code for the systems company. Without a second thought, the main character turns around and says the exact number the guy wanted. The employee is in shock, wondering if the rookie knew the catalog by heart. The kid gives an awkward smile and plays it off, saying he didn't memorize all of it. At that moment, he thinks the only good thing from his past life was his genius memory. And with a very focused look, he realizes this gift will help a lot on this new journey. Out of nowhere, someone starts screaming in the middle of the office, demanding to speak to the manager. A very nervous employee tries to calm the situation down, offering to help the client. But the crazy rich woman yells, asking if she can't choose who assists her. The young woman tries to say the manager is traveling, and the madam belittles the girl for being a woman. The poor girl lowers her head in deep sadness after hearing her insults. At that moment, The main character watches the whole commotion from afar, keeping a close eye on the play. He thinks it's a huge joke that the lady is doing this, considering she's a woman too. Then he recognizes the cow worker's face, remembering some things from her past. The guy perfectly recalls that young woman's employee file in his other life. The client keeps screaming angrily about the clerk's supposed lack of respect. The young lady panics, but the rookie steps in front of her to stop the fight. The youth jumps into the middle of the mess, politely calling the woman president. With a very charming smile, the boy compliments the lady, leaving her quite amazed. The madam immediately calms down and sits in the chair, praising the young man's quick manners. The employee breathes a sigh of relief and looks at her savior with deep admiration. At that, the young man winks at his coworker and asks her very quietly to save the orders. He gives a thumbs up while the woman thinks about what a great guy the rookie is. The boy asks for the client's document, and she hands it over, telling him to move quickly. Looking at the card, the main character clearly remembers having seen this woman before. With a friendly smile, he asks if she wants to buy or sell her shares. The madam looks around and opens her purse, saying she's going to invest a fortune right there. She says she wants to put in 50 million, and the guy asks how much she expects to make. The woman explains she wants to let the money grow for about 10 long years straight. She complains about the former manager, and the rookie says the best move is to buy the stock right away, but the client yells in annoyance, telling him to buy whatever yields a huge profit. The guy gets frustrated, thinking she treats the market like it's a street fair. He remembers that back in the 90s, folks knew absolutely nothing about investing. In those days, there were no modern apps to invest straight from a cell phone. Back then, the only way to close a deal was by calling or going directly to the branch itself. So he types on his keyboard, knowing that leaving everything in the broker's hands was the norm. The youth picks a mid-level firm, so he won't draw anyone's attention there. Holding a bunch of papers, the young man suggests putting the money into the Dake Young Company. The client asks about the firm, and he explains that the returns will be extremely high. She's afraid it'll go under, but the rookie guarantees the stocks have been rising for 3 years. He says the firm held strong even when all the giant groups collapsed. The woman stands up from her chair in shock, hearing she would make 250. The madam asks if it's real, and he says yes, adding that he bought some for himself too. The boy smiles very confidently, knowing the profit from this move is a total sure thing. The branch boss watches everything from afar, quite pleased with the new broker's courage. The coworker warns very quietly that the current price is higher than he had stated, but the young man points to the monitor and says with absolute certainty that the price will drop soon. The client is amazed by his talent and even wants to introduce some friends to him. The young man politely declines the invite, saying he has no time for dating right now. After work, he takes a deep breath in his chair, thinking about this whole marriage thing. Holding a paper, the young man remembers that the body's former owner was married before. Lying in the dark of his room, he remembers the guy sent his family to live far away. The main character turns off the alarm, recalling that the man stayed alone just to work hard. The guy answers the phone in the middle of the night, seeing that the call is from his wife. He gets stressed out while she complains, pointing out that it's 3 in the morning in Korea. But the woman doesn't even care about the time, demanding his signature on the divorce papers. At that moment, you can see the unfaithful wife resting with another man, forcing her husband to listen. The wicked woman laughs with her partner, wanting the split to be quick and drama-free. With pure coldness, she warns she's going to disappear with the kids and demands the alimony money. The main character squeezes his eyes shut, thinking about what a snake this woman was. Then the scene shifts to the brokerage firm, where a sign shows the end of the morning shift. At that moment, an employee stacks a massive pile of papers on his desk. His work partner praises the guy's hard work and invites him to grab some grub. Leaning against the partition, the older guy jokes that the rookie gets a free lunch there. Laughing hard, the suit says the hardworking young man is extremely lucky in life. But the boy thinks with disgust that he's going to have to put up with this annoying guy during lunch. Even so, he accepts it smoothly, and the two stand up in a big rush to eat. Except the branch boss appears out of nowhere, calling the rookie over for a chat. The young man is quite surprised by the summons, while the older guy finds it all very weird. With his hand on the boy's shoulder, the boss tells the other employee to eat alone. Walking down the hallway, the leader promises he's not going to scold the kid at all. Watching the two walk away, the older guy gets a very suspicious look on his face. The location changes, showing the front of a very simple noodle shop. Eating the food, the boss starts asking questions about the main character's family. The youth says his parents live in the countryside while remembering his tough former father. Drinking a glass of water, the boss asks if his family has a lot of money saved up. The guy stays quiet, thinking that bunch of personal questions is annoying as heck, but he answers politely, revealing he only has a very old house out on the farm. The suit smiles enthusiastically, saying both of them are moving up without anyone's help. The main character figures out the boss got his high position without having rivers of money. Grabbing more food, the older guy asks the rookie to stop sucking up to him. Then he asks if the boy knows who the guy that truly runs the branch is. The traveler answers without blinking that the one holding the real power there is Manager O. The older man stops eating, sharing that this manager is the heir to a giant group. The young man's look gets serious when he learns they are the owners of that construction company. The boy wonders in his thoughts why a wealthy heir would work at the brokerage. Hiding his shock, he asks if this construction company is really that good. Pointing with his chopsticks, the boss says the rookie is only seeing the tip of the iceberg. He explains they have strong ties to the family that owns that brokerage firm. Sipping the hot broth, the boss gossips about an arranged marriage between them. At that moment, the main character panics, because the groom in that mess would be him, holding his head. He tries to understand how his old body is living in the same timeline. Wide-eyed, the traveler is terrified, trying to figure out who took over his body. He thinks about this crazy situation, wondering which of the two would be the real heir. The boss drinks more water and snaps the guy out of his trance, warning that the food is getting cold. The rookie apologizes for spacing out, and his superior tells him to think while finishing his meal. The guy drops his chopsticks on the table, guaranteeing he's already cleaned his entire plate. Satisfied, the older man stands up and hands his card to pay the bill for both of them. Once outside the restaurant, the leader lights a cigarette, changing the subject. Smoking casually, he warns that the boy broke a very serious rule of the brokerage. The young man refuses the cigarette, hearing that doing that makes it look like he stole clients. We see a chart showing that new contracts yield good targets for the firm. The boss finishes by saying that in the market, whoever brings in the most profit is always king. Then, the leader explains that the rich guy has a terrible attitude and won't accept this purchase. So the boss leaves, telling the rookie to claim it was a mistake when the manager arrives. But the kid stands firm, saying with absolute certainty that his move was the right one. The young man extends his hand, guaranteeing the stock will close at 28,000 shortly. The older man laughs, finding it funny, and says it's impossible for the price to drop that much today. He warns that the boy needs to know the difference between having confidence and being stupid in there. Taking a step forward, the clever traveler looks at the older man and asks if he'll take the bet. The two end up face to face, and the bold employee asks to make a wish come true. The manager accepts the deal, ordering the guy to work overtime if his prediction fails. With that, the reincarnated guy smiles very confidently and bows, accepting the wager. The old man celebrates happily for dodging extra work, while the rookie tells him to wait. Walking down the street, the boss promises to buy coffee for the young man during his night shifts. Back in the office, another employee stands up, calling the boss to look at the PC screen. The leader is stunned to see the stock price closed exactly at the amount the young man predicted. The older man panics, while the smiling guy jokes that he won the bet. Meanwhile, the employees gossip about the mean manager seeing the new guy's plan. At that, the suit thinks seriously, realizing the rich kid's power is greater than anything. Out of nowhere, the female coworker stands up wanting to help, and the boy tells her not to worry about it. The young woman smiles, saying she was the one who saved the purchase and would fix the situation. The main character is amazed by his coworker's kindness, seeing that she wants to defend him. Giving a laugh, the clerk says she's just returning the favor for having been saved. Right then, The young man grips his own shirt, feeling his heart beating really fast. The traveler shares that he felt a nice warmth comforting his chest, as if he were at peace. Feeling his chest warm up, he thinks he's never felt such a good emotion before. As night falls, the hardworking guy stops on a deserted street. Remembering his isolation, he stares into nothingness, recalling that his mind used to work much more directly before. The young man remembers that in his other life, he was only happy when he got what he wanted. But when things didn't go his way, the crazy kid would have fits of rage. He also remembers the awful night when his mother was in a bad accident right in front of him. During that terrible moment, the youth didn't feel pity, but rather a lot of anger at all the noise. Snapping back to normal, the reincarnated guy scratches his head, finding it hard to deal with this body. Sighing deeply, he realizes his shift is over, but he doesn't even know where his house is. The rookie squeezes his head, forcing his mind to find a clue in his memories. Then a spark happens, showing the former owner lived on bus route 508. He remembers the little house at the top of the hill, located right at the end of the bus line. But before going to catch his ride, the suit feels his pocket vibrate out of nowhere. The boy pulls a black device from his pocket, seeing it's one of those old pagers. He heads to the payphone, remembering these beepers were all the rage in the 90s. The traveler dials on the public phone to return the call from the number on the screen. Holding the receiver, he waits until he hears a woman's voice in a restaurant. The clerk says the person who sent the message is right there, and asks for a moment to pass the phone. At that, the suit widens his eye, hearing a familiar voice calling him brother. The girl's voice sounds confused on the line, while the guy tries to figure out who is talking. The main character searches his memories to view the family tree of this new family of his. He says the girl's name, and the young woman smiles on the line, confirming she's his little sister. Working hard at the restaurant, the girl asks for his address, and the guy gives it to her. The young woman starts crying tears of joy because he's okay, and she asks him to let their parents know. The reincarnated guy breaks into a nervous sweat, not understanding the reason for all her crying. He almost thinks about crying too until he hears the girl say she sent a lot of money. With that, the guy at the payphone is stunned by the amount, asking where all that cash came from. The older lady lets them know the factory worker has arrived to start the night shift. Then, the girl asks him to focus on his job, saying she will take care of their youngest sibling. The young man holds the phone in shock, only hearing the beep, beep, beep of the dropped line. During the bus ride, the suit says he felt his chest burning intensely. With his hand on his chest, he realizes this heat isn't anger, but an urge to cry. Tears fall down his face as the young man grasps the love of a real family. Opening his front door, the reincarnated guy thinks his other version never had this. He wipes his face, happy to have people who actually care about him. The next day, we see the commercial building fully lit by the morning sun. Some employees are gossiping, saying the scary manager has already arrived. They say the boss's face looked terrifying when he saw the vacation folders. The group keeps chatting in fear, seeing the hair is in a terrible mood. The young lady hears everything, remembering the rich guy hates it when people mess with his clients. Feeling sorry for her partner, the young woman is certain the good rookie is in deep trouble. Meanwhile, the guy is typing on his computer, clueless about the danger heading his way. Out of nowhere, the traveler stops what he's doing when he sees a shadow blocking the light on his desk. Then a deep, very annoying voice asks if he's the new worker there. The kid looks at the guy, thinking coldly that the big villain has finally arrived. We see the hair's serious face, talking about the rich client the young man helped. At that, the reincarnated guy stands up from his chair quickly, standing his ground firmly before the boss. But to everyone's surprise, the manager gives a little smirk, calling the rookie lucky. The veteran waves a piece of paper, praising the kid because that stock went up a lot. The worker says it was just luck, making the boss angry enough to crumple the paper. The rich kid's gaze turns sharp, ordering the lower-level employee to know his place. Frustrated, the hair throws folders in the air, yelling that the firm isn't a playground. Papers fly through the air as the wealthy man asks if the boy was going to take the fall. At that moment, the time traveler's look turns deadly in the face of all that humiliation. Casually, he brushes off the superior's insults and guarantees he'll take responsibility for the mistake. The entire group's jaws drop, thinking the new kid has completely lost his mind. Very firmly, the smart rookie promises to cover the loss if the profit vanishes from there. Looking at the older man, the young guy steps up to him, asking if that's enough for him. The spoiled hair grits his teeth in rage, finding that level of arrogance unbelievable. Faking a laugh, the suit lets out a chuckle, mocking the kid's audacity. Then the wicked leader turns around, calling the guy who trains the new employee. With an ugly scowl, he yells at the coworker, saying the freshman is out of line. The scared lackey bows, apologizing and promising to keep an eye on the kid. But the villain won't have it, ordering the recruit to be isolated, so he works completely alone. The rich guy walks away while the team gossips, feeling sorry for the good kid's future. Holding her coffee, the young lady sighs, thinking the guy should have stayed quiet. At that, the suit just watches the leader's back, hearing he'd have to fend for himself. The snob gives one last nasty glare, saying he's going to laugh hard at his failure. A little while later, the freshman goes to the restroom, thinking about that mess in the office. Sitting on the desk, he observes his surroundings, realizing the rich kid is going to use dirty tactics. The reincarnated guy remembers this isolation happened to his body's former owner. It all started with silly things, like being left out of lunch and getting pointless scoldings. Little by little, the two-faced people would hide notices to embarrass the poor guy. All this pressure created an awful environment that destroyed the poor man's mental state. Over time, the verbal abuse turned into physical bullying that was incredibly hard to endure. The old veteran would raise his hand, cursing the boy for burning the firm's money. This daily torture and humiliation turned rookies into terrified slaves. With that, you can see the cruel manager harshly pinning down a worker on the floor. The traveler remembers that in the real history, the one who beat up the poor guy was another coworker. Except now it seems the spoiled hair wanted to take on the villain role himself. Taking this in stride, the kid stays calm, thinking this change might actually be better. The smart rookie knows full well that a big company always follows whoever is in charge. So he grabs his jacket, seeing he needs to crush the rich manager's pride. Putting on his coat, the reincarnated guy decides this mess will resolve itself. The good worker adjusts his tie, believing the time to act is right now. Smiling, he plans to use a news story about investigations to ruin the villain's reputation. Walking down the halls, the young man decides his target will be the older man's firm. Just then, he finds his friendly coworker standing in a very secluded corner. The boy scratches his head slightly awkwardly and asks if she hasn't gone to lunch yet. The young woman blushes, saying she was thinking a lot about her bold new coworker. He warns her to keep her distance, but the girl knows exactly how office hazing works. The woman steps closer, saying she's curious to know who he really is. Putting a coin in the machine, she recalls that in the past, she endured everything quietly. The reincarnated guy listens to it all while his coworker praises his attitude, but warns of the danger. Smiling sweetly, the young woman hands him a coffee, saying she's going to root for the new kid. The clerk promises to help the traveler however she can, doing it all in secret. The suit looks at the woman in all of such kindness in such a troubled place. Grabbing the cold can, the boy notices the villain's swap has changed things around there. With a smile, the rookie is happy to see he now has a golden ally. At that, the young lady sips her coffee peacefully, while the clever young man calls her by name. The bold main character holds out his can, asking if she wants to get rich quickly. The traveler's look shows this master plan is just the beginning of the turnaround. The woman is startled to hear the firm's name, while the guy drinks his beverage. She points out the place belongs to the boss's group and asks if he's really going to invest. The worker says he'll scrape together all the cash he can to drop it in all at once. The young lady thinks the numbers will go up, and the young man sets his can on the windowsill, adding more. With a firm gaze, he guarantees the stock will take off in a very short time frame. The smart woman thinks about the situation and asks if she should hold the stock for a long time. The guy says no, telling her to sell everything exactly 7 days after buying. Looking at his ally, he explains this spike is only going to be a quick phase. Hearing that, the young woman's mouth drops open, assuming it has to do with merger rumors. Fiddling with her pen, she gets tense, because the market thinks the deal will fall through. The suit remains firm, stating that selling in 7 days is the secret. The young lady accepts, and her coworker tells her to just use a little bit of money if she's scared. Adjusting his clothes, the kid asks her to use this chance to see the outcome, tapping his chest. The traveler tells her to test if he truly deserves her support. The nice employee widens her eyes, amazed by the sheer size of his confidence. Out of nowhere, the serious mood ends when they hear the noise of a group chatting. Seeing the group arrive, the rookie realizes lunch break is over. The clever young man says they need to get back to work before the boss's crew spots them. Looking at the young woman, he asks her not to draw attention and just blend in with them. The reincarnated guy tells to pretend he doesn't even exist, so she avoids getting hazed too. Excited about the plan, the suit says they should give it their all this afternoon. The woman just stares at her talented coworker's back with a strong desire to win. Then the boy starts walking, but he hears his ally calling his name out of nowhere. The cute clerk smiles and promises to return the favor if she manages to make some cash. Clenching her hands, the hardworking woman says she hates living in debt to others. Then she suggests ignoring the awful manager and the crowd so they can grab drinks together. Back in the office, the rest of the employees stare at the PC with their jaws on the floor. A coworker praises the wealthy manager, saying the stocks went up and made a great profit. Hearing this, a woman walks up smiling and thanks the boss for giving her the tip. Then they recall when the rich guy told everyone to buy those shares. The employee admits she doubted it at first because they thought the merger would flop. But she agrees that if it weren't for the boss's insider tip, no one would have invested there. The suck-up coworker calls everyone family while the clerk brings in the coffees. The young lady sets the drinks on the desks, listening to all the chatter very quietly. Then the employee says the girl, who just arrived, owes the team boss a thank you. The group remembers she slipped away earlier that day, claiming she felt sick. They mention the boss went out of his way to give her the tip so she wouldn't lose money. Sipping her coffee, the young woman fakes being happy, keeping up her disguise, so she doesn't give herself away. But the snob slams his cup on the table, saying he's pretty upset with her attitude. With an ugly smirk, the spoiled hair suggests the young woman buy him a drink. The other guys pressure the employee, telling her she has to pay for the round. At that moment, the good rookie enters the room, seeing everyone demanding a favor from his ally. Looking at the group, the main character sees the girl cornered by their sucking up. The traveler rubs his chin, figuring out the best way to step in without ruining everything. Out of nowhere, the clever guy bows down, wishing them a good morning with immense energy. The loud shout startles everyone in the room, who stare at the freshman without understanding a thing. Even the big branch boss freezes with his cup in hand, stunned by the rookie's boldness. The manager swallows hard, seeing the boy's energy, while the others find it bizarre. Then the reincarnated guy sits down, saying he's going to work now, pleasing his superior. Pretending to use the PC, the young man hides his own surprise at having put on such a big show. The young lady suddenly gives a thumbs up from the corner, and the boy returns the gesture. Right after, the boss breaks the ice, inviting the team out for a welcome dinner. The superior wants to see everyone drinking a lot, but the hair rolls his eyes in anger. Several workers raise their hands, asking to postpone it because they're exhausted. The older man gets mad at the refusal, saying a rookie party is a mandatory rule at the firm. Pointing his finger, the leader scolds a woman, reminding her that her own party was a mess. The man keeps barking orders, leaving the team with no excuse to say no. Watching the drama, the rich manager puts his hand in his pocket, thinking about how to use the situation. With that, the villain steps in, stating the team needs to follow the rules. The leader asks the rich kid for help, and the spoiled guy just looks at everyone with a dark expression, leaning his hands on the desk. The scary manager backs his superior's idea. The villain stands up from his chair, telling everyone they must attend the new employees' party. With pure mockery, the awful here says they don't even know how long the recruit will last. The suit's face drips with arrogance, making fun of the main character's talent. The branch boss changes his expression, not liking his very distasteful joke at all. The mood in the room gets incredibly heavy, while the other workers sweat with fear. But out of nowhere, the older man lets out a huge laugh, breaking the ice to calm the room. The leader pats the rich guy on the back, saying only he gets the hare's jokes. The bad guy forces a laugh, hating the physical touch, while the boss orders lots of drinks. With that, the excited older man tells his lackey to find a restaurant, and the guy agrees. Turning his head, the bad manager watches the scene with intense hatred shining in his eyes. At his desk, the clever traveler nods, realizing who really pulls the strings in there. Night finally falls, and the whole team heads to a nice restaurant to celebrate everything. We see good meat frying on the grill, while the suits order more alcohol. In the middle of the event, the rich hare gets up, and an employee asks where he's going. The bad manager plays it off, smiling at his phone, and lies that there's an emergency at home. The crowd groans at his quick exit, while the fake hare walks away from there fast. A veteran takes a drink, complaining about the excuse, but another says the guy is the real boss there. At that moment, the young traveler gets up from the table and casually mentions he's running to the restroom. Doing so, the clever kid tosses a paper note on the table right to his ally. The secret note asks the employee to handle the situation today. Then, the reincarnated guy gives one last look to make sure the plan is in motion. The pretty woman just nods very quietly, ready to do her part. At that, the smart young lady sneaks out her phone and quickly starts sending a message. The secretary's gaze gets extremely focused, and she cracks a smile to start the chaos. Outside, the boss asks the hare about the recruit, finding him quite strange. The older man suspects the boy is related to someone wealthy, while his bad coworker offers a cigarette. Lighting up, the villain smirks wickedly, seeing the boss is acting weird. A memory flashes showing the old leader intentionally spilling coffee on some important reports. The fake leader pretends it was an accident, and the spoiled guy remembers he used to ignore the hazing. But now the older man just turns his face away with a very serious look, not saying a word. The snobby hare laughs, mocking this shift from the old man trying to save the boy. Furious, the suited leader glares at the villain, warning him he crossed the line. The awful antagonist throws his cigarette on the ground and steps on it, asking if he sounds drunk. Walking toward the taxi, the rich kid laughs, pointing out that the boss is the one who's screwed here. Looking at the older man's back, the villain taunts him, saying the old guy will be fired soon. Then the bad guy suggests they keep things as they were, maintaining the awful vibe in that place. Sitting in the car, the rich kid promises to let the older guy work if he stays out of his way. The car speeds off, disappearing into the dark streets, while the humiliated boss just accepts it all. The smart main character appears outside, and the old man announces he's heading back to the bar. Smoking his cigarette tensely, the manager asks if the rookie heard their whole conversation. The older man is angry about being embarrassed, so close to retirement, because of the kid. But the smiling guy points out the boss already knew, teasing that he did it on purpose. The old man smiles, admitting he only helped the worker because of that crazy bet. Taking firm steps, the traveler gets closer, asking what he wins if he gets it all right. The two stand face to face on the street, while the rookie asks for a massive favor as his prize. The leader demands a solid plan from the young guy to handle the hare's rage after the drama. The suit's gaze turns terrifying, and he guarantees the play has already begun. The scene shifts to the barbecue going strong, where one of the veterans shouts in shock. The group stares at the young woman in total confusion, asking why she sold her shares. Holding her drink, the clever ally asks if the fools want to listen. The pretty girl keeps up her fake smile, drawing everyone's attention to her plan. Right then, one of the employees widens his eyes, seeing a bombshell in the newspaper on the table. The team reads in disbelief the news that the wealthy group is under investigation. They remember the fake leader swore the audit wouldn't find anything wrong. Glasses are refilled as the chatter heats up, with several papers dropping the same hints. Drinking casually, the young lady makes up a story that the government is calling the rich in to testify. Panic takes over the group, terrified the stocks will tank and crush their investment. A loud murmur sweeps through the team, and the ally hides a little smirk behind her glass. But one of the veterans tries to calm everyone down, guessing this search is just routine. The secretary sets her glass down and agrees, assuming the rich control the government. The fools breathe a sigh of relief, keeping their blind faith that the hare will save them all. The clueless coworker feels bad for the young woman, thinking she sold early out of fear from the rumors. The woman just gives a side smile without saying a word, thinking these guys are total idiots. A memory flashes of the duo on the rooftop, where the rookie asked the girl to drop the gossip. Up there, the young guy smokes a cigarette, explaining the plan is just to plant doubt in their minds. The woman asks about it, pointing out that stocks are rising and no one would believe it. The youth tosses his cigarette away, assuring her the main goal is to spook the lackeys. He explains the suits think it's easy to make money by just following the rich kid, but by planting this bad seed, everyone's greed is going to speak much louder now. With that, the traveler watches the sun go down, telling his ally to relax about this scheme. The scene returns to the dinner, with the woman putting down her glass and thanking the bosses. Smiling sweetly, she confesses to being a coward, saying losing that cash would be the end of the world. The coworker next to her mocks her, saying the gossip girl settles for crumbs and was foolish. At that moment, the other employees look at each other in silence, feeling the heavy atmosphere. Outside, the older man puts out his cigarette, warning that he doesn't care about this payback business. The old guy tells the kid to dial it back, saying he just wants to retire in peace. The smart young man looks at the leader, stating he completely disagrees with just taking it. We see the full ashtray as the main character, shows he refuses to lose easily. The reincarnated guy demands action from his superior, asking if he's really going to swallow it all quietly. The experienced man gets confused, while the boy points out that firing him would be wrong. Angry, the old man demands respect, asking if the rookie thinks he's the owner's son. The youth thinks to himself that he is the real heir, guaranteeing he won't let evil win. The young man says he would back a leader who worked his way up without relying on wealthy connections. The older guy laughs, praising the freshman's smooth talk, while the boy insists he means it. Putting his hand in his pocket, the suit says he wants to see the boss actually running the branch. The main character hands something to the veteran, asking him firmly not to give up. We see their hands touching as the kid assures the older man that he has his chance. After the chat, the polite worker bows and heads off to return to the barbecue. The man looks at the gift in his hand, thinking the recruit is completely crazy for saying such things. Looking at the blue lighter, he spots a weird logo, wondering what on earth it is. With that, the traveler heads back into the restaurant, ready to take the next step in his plan. Taking off his shoes, he thinks the older man will be a massive asset if he joins his side. The young man fixes his shoe, figuring out the best way to get friendlier with the boss. Out of nowhere, someone spills a drink on his shirt, and a person yells, pretending it was an accident. The pretty secretary says it was her, holding her glass and apologizing for the mess. With red cheeks, the young woman fakes being drunk, saying she got carried away. The smart guy sees right through the act, realizing this trick is a classic move to force a connection. The seductress invites him to sit down, and he laments that his old body fell into this exact trap. Taking a step forward, the worker accepts the invite, calling the employee by her name. A memory pops up showing her old employment record, which was completely ordinary, filling the glasses. The young man remembers that in his old memories, this woman was a nightmare. Downing his glass, he recalls the witch was a gold digger who drained everyone. We see the poor guy from before being taken to a cheap hotel, becoming her perfect prey. In the room, the woman makes her move, and the foolish kid ends up losing control of his life. The sad end to it all was an ugly divorce, where the cheater smiled alongside another rich guy. Sitting at the table, the reincarnated guy gets ready, knowing today is the day of that entire mess. With that, the employee gets closer with several bottles, demanding the boy's attention. Slamming the bottles on the table, the woman warns her coworker he can't leave until he drinks it all. The freshman pretends to be scared, calling it overkill, while the scammer orders him to drink his glass. The girl dumps everything into a massive mug, asking why he's so afraid. The other guys gossip from a distance, fearing for the rookie since that mix is pure poison. We see the full mug overflowing, and the fake woman's dangerous mix is ready on the table. Holding the huge cup, the suit breaks a cold sweat, accepting the challenge to keep up the act. Resting her face on her hand, the gold digger gives a seductive look, thinking the rat took the bait. The young guy chugs the stuff from the large mug, accepting the challenge issued by the witch. With that, the woman cracks a wicked smile, thinking her plan worked perfectly, Out of nowhere, the restaurant owner shouts, asking if the new rookie is around. At that, the suit waves his hand, and the older lady lets him know there's a phone call for him. The reincarnated guy stands up while the villainess bites her lip, furious that her plan was cut short. Speaking on the phone, the boy agrees to something and promises to rush over there right away. The old boss steps closer, curious, and the rookie says his father traveled just to see him. The older man is surprised, wanting to know the man's city, while the scammer listens to everything. Realizing the distance, the superior understands the rush, and the youth says he needs to leave immediately. But the seductress complains about his departure, and the boss orders the kid to go see his dad right then. With the rule that family comes first, the witch gets an incredibly ugly look on her face. At that, the time traveler bows, thanking the firm leader for his help. The gold-digging coworker bites her nail in anger, watching her prey escape way too easily. Far from there, we see the beautiful sign of a coffee shop shining under the moonlight. The worker puts a lot of cash on the counter, and a young woman thanks him, stunned by the money. Seeing several identical lighters in the place, the young man proves he always keeps his deals. The clever kid thanks the older lady for having called exactly when he arranged it. With a firm smile, he reveals he dodged a scam thanks to that great help. The young man holds an object, wondering if he should entrust an important task to his new ally. With his back turned, he analyzes an organizational chart, thinking that the main point will be the welcome party. As he does so, he reflects that this is the perfect moment to plant the seed of doubt among the henchmen. He bites into a sweet, reflecting that he used a lure to attract the villain and now needs to keep a close watch. But he emphasizes that the person who needs the most attention is the woman in the photo he is holding, because in his past memories, he remembers that the most dangerous person to him was this very woman. With both allies occupied, the protagonist realizes he will need a new move in the game. Satisfied, he stretches in his chair, thinking it is the perfect moment since he needed a hitty out. A few days later, after work, the reincarnated man explored the area and found a perfect spot. The location was a coffee shop with little foot traffic, making it a very easy hideout to ignore. From that day on, the young man started visiting the cafe every day after his work shift. He always greeted the owner warmly and ordered the most expensive desserts, along with a good coffee. Reading a book, he pretended to be a hardworking student to impress the lady at the counter. Until one day, when he was leaving, the coffee shop owner finally called him over to talk. The lady shows him a warm rice cake that her husband brought as an afternoon snack for her. Knowing the young man lives alone, she offers the treat as a gift to her new loyal customer. The young man tries to pay, but the woman refuses, saying it is a gift for such a hardworking boy. He says he feels bad, but the owner crosses her arms, stating he doesn't need to worry about that. The lady's expression changes slightly, and she wonders about the reason for so much persistence from the polite young man. The boy then reveals that it is a deposit, because he has a very important request to make. With a sly smile, he asks if he can use the coffee shop's phone the next morning. The next morning, a large office building is shown while everyone congratulates a new boss. A man in a suit walks confidently through the hallway while other coworkers in ties eyes applaud his promotion. In the office, everyone celebrates his transfer, but he asks for silence and tells someone to get the newspaper. A coworker compliments him, saying it is the first promotion to the company's headquarters from that branch. With a bouquet in her hands, she asks the boss not to forget them when he goes to the main office. At that moment, the branch phone rings, and someone answers to see what the person on the other end wants. The woman with the flowers turns her face away, annoyed, wondering who would call the office so early. The scene focuses on the white phone that doesn't stop ringing for a single second with urgency. Suddenly, all the phones in the office start ringing at the same time, creating massive chaos. Our protagonist drinks a coffee, wondering about the reason for that sudden flood of calls. An employee runs into the room, screaming in desperation that something terrible has just happened. The boss reads the newspaper and is in shock at the news that a large group has been raided by prosecutors. Chaos ensues, and the employees worry about what will happen to the stock prices. He is furious because his transfer would happen in 1 month, and now everything seems like a trap. The colleagues are left open-mouthed, realizing that their suspicion has become a terrible reality. Our hero then reveals that all he did was plant a very small seed in the right place. But when this seed blooms, it will become the trigger that will bring down the entire enemy's kingdom. In the midst of the chaos, the traitorous boss takes his cell phone from his pocket to make an important call. He answers the device, and on the other side, a furious voice screams for him to come home right now. The man tries to argue that he is working, but his father screams that it is not the time to be at the company. With gritted teeth, the suited boss just agrees to the order received without questioning. He turns to leave in a great hurry and ends up bumping into a coworker on the way. Out of patience, the man in the suit pushes the other aside, continuing his way to the exit. The branch manager appears, shouting about how discipline has crumbled and asks for a report on his desk. An employee warns that the stocks are a disaster and that the clients invaded the place in the morning. The leader faces the team, reminding them that they all recommended those stocks to their clients. With a headache, the boss asks everyone to put personal problems aside and focus on work. Two security guards try to contain an angry crowd outside, and the leader asks for full attention. He then warns that this will be the most tiring and challenging day of everyone's life present there. Outside, the angry clients shout, demanding that the company return their money. The crowd invades the place, yelling with hatred at one of the poor, frightened employees. With wide eyes and an open mouth, the man faces the mob, remembering that that day was a nightmare. One of the suited men tries to calm the clients, who demand responsibility for the group's bankruptcy. Dozens of people invade the office, and the employees break into a cold sweat, trying to calm the situation. With that, everyone's anger grows like a snowball against the traitorous boss. Clenching his teeth, the branch manager whispers the culprit's name with immense hatred in his eyes. Far away, the protagonist drinks with his ally, and she is shocked by the company's sudden collapse. She asks how the young man knew about the raid, and he says he just stuck to the basics of the market. The genius explains that stocks are based on reading the social and economic climate to be able to win the game. He adds that in the 90s it was possible to use insider information, but today it is illegal. The young man picks up a snack and warns that he needs to correct something he said, leaving the young woman very confused. Spilling his drink, the traveler remembers that he called the rookie oppressed, but that wasn't right. Toasting with the woman, he says that the freshman has the potential to turn the game around for their entire branch. A manager feels a tightness in his chest, thinking he will stop bothering the young man for a while. The reincarnated man then thanks his partner, but she responds that she only followed the orders she received. Pouring more drinks, he states that having someone who listens to him has been a great strength. The young man appreciates the woman's trust, and they look at each other with complicity. During dinner, the young woman yawns slightly and asks, curious, what his plans are for the future of that revenge. The young man thinks that the boss will go to the headquarters in a month and might pull something big before leaving. The traveler states that he will make a move as well, and his partner is very surprised by the revelation. With the urgent matter resolved, the protagonist feels that now is the time to prepare in earnest for an event that will occur in months. He reveals that he will need to be based in the United States. With a confident smile, the young man states that he will have to capitalize on that event after all. The ally does not understand, and he just says that he is looking forward to the next day, leaving her confused. Drinking calmly, the young man guarantees that something very interesting will happen the next day. The scene cuts to the large company building shining under the strong and intense light of the morning sun. The hero's partner is left open-mouthed, asking about a training program in New York. The branch manager announces to everyone that a reward has just arrived directly from the central headquarters. The best employees will be selected for financial training in the city of New York. All expenses will be paid by the company, and there will even be paid leave at the end of it all. The coworkers are shocked by the news, and the protagonist smiles because the plan has begun. He thinks that this is the golden opportunity to put an end to that enemy's secret fund. A month after the crisis, the office remains in chaos, with employees working non-stop. The client's anger increased every time the problematic company's stocks plummeted. To restore confidence, the team held daily meetings to choose high-performing stocks in the market. Overtime became routine, but the team's morale remained firm because of the evaluation. A tired colleague admits that without the evaluation, he would have quit the job a long time ago, because the grand prize for all that effort was a coveted training program in the United States. Because of this, the competition became fierce, and the branch turned into a real battlefield. Seeing the agitation, the branch manager asks everyone to calm down and take a breath. He announces that the clients have calmed down, and for this reason, they can take turns going on vacation. With that, the leader points to the protagonist and demands that the rookie go on vacation immediately. The young man is surprised, but the boss explains that if he continues like this, he will end up fainting. Forced to take a vacation, the young man is now on a train heading to his hometown to rest. Inside the train car, a woman kindly offers a boiled egg to the young man sitting next to her. With a beautiful smile on her face, she states that she peeled the entire food with her own hands. The young woman then offers some salt, and the young man thanks her for the kindness while accepting the gift. Holding the egg, he begins to reflect on what the family of the original owner of that body is like. Taking a bite of the snack, he wonders what kind of people the relatives of this new life are. Walking along a dirt road with his sister, he complains that the way is very long. His companion only replies that the walk takes about 40 minutes to reach the destination. Pointing to a house, the girl asks if her brother remembers that place, and he is confused. She explains that in school, they were very jealous of the children who lived in that big house, because those rich boys always had fried eggs in their lunch boxes back in school days. The young woman reveals that she wanted to be successful, so she could make fried eggs for their whole family. At this, the protagonist understands the reason she bought so many eggs to take home. The sister smiles happily, saying she is content for finally being able to fulfill this small dream. The young man then pats her head and suggests they also make 2 fried eggs for their parents. With a gentle smile, he asks her to make the food nice and warm for everyone to enjoy. The girl is moved, and her eyes fill with tears at that gesture of affection. Wiping away a tear, she agrees with a smile and continues the path to the family home. The young woman lifts the egg carton excitedly and shouts, calling for her parents to announce they have arrived. On the house porch, the parents appear, and the mother welcomes her beloved eldest son. The sister hugs her mother, who comments on how busy they must be to have traveled. The father asks about work, and the son guarantees that everything is fine while the old man notices his daughter. The mother says they must be hungry and invites her children to go inside and eat something. The father reveals he caught a chicken, and the sister celebrates, lamenting that the other brother is not there. The reincarnated man observes the simple house, wondering if that place is his family's home. He finds the place more precarious than he remembered, and his sister calls him inside because he stopped. The family is already at the table, and the father invites him to join and eat because he must be hungry. Upon entering the house, the protagonist is paralyzed in shock at the scene he sees before him. A memory of a luxurious banquet arises, with someone inviting him to eat the hearty meal. He remembers his father, the company president, forcing him to eat, saying it was an order. The young man from the past just stares at the food with a sad look, unable to say a word. The memory hits him with force, and the reincarnated man remembers his brother in that difficult situation. Worried about her brother's reaction, the girl appears in the doorway and asks if he is feeling okay. The young man recomposes himself and covers it up, saying he just remembered some things from the past. He warns her to eat before the food gets cold and finally enters the house, taking off his shoes. During the meal, the father says he is already satisfied, and the son asks his mother to eat as well. The young man stops eating and turns to his parents, wanting to talk about something important with them. Clearing his throat, he asks directly if they have any free time the next day. The parents confirm that they have no plans, and the son suggests they all go to the city center. The curious father asks the reason for the outing, and the son reveals he has a gift for them both. The old man complains that he should save money, but the young man calms him down, saying he has incentives. With a confident smile, The young man adds that he also earned good money with stocks on the market. A chart shows that his profits from stocks exceed his salary, and his sister is shocked by the amount. The mother holds his hand, saying the best gift is his health, but the son insists on the outing. The very next day, the curious sister asks what gift this is, and when he managed to buy it, he deflects, saying it is nothing much, and that he prepared something very modest for the family. The girl then looks up and is left completely speechless at what she is seeing right there in front. She stares at a huge apartment building and shouts, questioning how that could be modest. In front of the building, the young man signs the papers, while a realtor shows the place to the family. The mother tries to stop him from signing the contract, shocked by the idea of living in a place like that. She worries about the loan, but the son reveals that there is no debt because he bought everything in cash. The parents are left open-mouthed while the young man explains that he saved the money that last month. He promises to send monthly expenses so they can live comfortably in the new home. With that, the young man holds his mother's hand and invites everyone to take a look at the apartment. Upon entering the place, the family is amazed by the space and the luxury of the new apartment. The money was for the revenge, but a phone call from his sister made him change his plans for the vacation. In a memory, she invites him to visit the family, guaranteeing that she would prepare the gifts, but a manager interrupts her, and the girl warns that she is already returning to the factory to work. She says goodbye to her brother, asking him to think about the visit, and the young man remains silent on the phone. Leaving the phone booth, the time traveler reflects on his dear sister's request. He is pensive for a moment before making his big decision about that vacation. Back in the present, he realizes that another goal, as important as the revenge, has emerged. Observing his happy relatives, he understands that the happiness of that family is his new focus. The protagonist watches from afar their joy as they explore the new and spacious residence. Putting his hand to his chest, he thinks that if the original young man's family stays comfortable, and if a little warmth fills his heart, perhaps the former owner of the body will find peace. His sister calls him to see the view from the balcony, and his parents wait for him to share the moment. The time traveler faces the scene with a moved expression and a bit surprised by everything. Then he takes a step forward, decided to join his new and happy family that day. Walking toward them, the young man thinks that the amount of money is nothing compared to this. The scene cuts to the imposing Okon Group building shining during the dark night of the city. At the company headquarters, the traitorous boss confirms that tomorrow he will go to the group's main headquarters. His father reprimands him, telling him to pull himself together and not get involved in small and useless incidents. The son agrees, and the old man in the suit warns that they do not have much time to lose now. A woman observes the city from the window, while a voice reveals that someone will visit a location. With a wicked smile, the company president orders his son to take over Jawa Securities. Back from his vacation, the protagonist sits at the computer during the night to start a plan. With that, he begins to type rapidly on the keyboard with his very agile and focused fingers. A blue screen appears with a warning about the risks of using illegal websites for his operations. In an online conversation, someone confirms that the company account and documents are already ready. Holding a cigarette, the young man gives a satisfied smile, praising his contact's good work. He then lets them know in the chat that the plan will proceed as soon as he arrives in the United States. The young man stretches and thinks that opening a company in the United States costs more than he imagined. As he does so, he reflects that all he has to do is send a fax to Switzerland tomorrow, and the money problem will be solved. The next day, his ally finds him in the copy room and offers to help with the papers he needs to shred. The time traveler accepts his colleague's help, handing her the documents he needs to destroy. The young woman notices that the document is a fax in English with a United States phone number. The genius makes a silence gesture and warns that that fax is also a big secret between them. Suddenly, his desk phone starts ringing, breaking the silence of that office. With that, the young man asks his colleague for a moment and goes to answer the important call at his desk. On the other end of the line, a European investment bank confirms that it received his fax successfully. The reincarnated man asks them to take care of a transfer, and the bank requests his number and the PN. Without hesitating, the young man dictates a long sequence of numbers that are written down on a notepad. After the verification, the bank asks where and what amount he wishes to transfer. He then provides an account at the Bank of America and the amount of $10 million. The attendant confirms that the transfer has been completed and thanks the client for their business. The man in the suit hangs up the phone, ending the call after carrying out the massive transaction. With a satisfied smile, he wonders if, with this, the funding problem has been solved. But his expression changes as he thinks that, in truth, he did not want to have used that money. He leans back in his chair, remembering that money belonged to President Joman. It was an emergency fund for the president's disabled son, kept in a secret account. In his past life, only he and the president knew of the existence of that large fortune. And when he passed away, that account and the money ended up being buried by the Okyung family. Even though it is his money now, he feels bad for knowing it was saved for that man. Suddenly, a coworker touches his shoulder, calling his attention to a piece of news. The employee informs him that manager Oh Kang Sik will start working at the headquarters starting today. She comments that he hasn't come to work since the scandal but kept his transfer because he is rich. The colleague reveals that they managed to get money to solve the problem in a very bold way. The protagonist suggests that the former company might have a separate fund for these emergencies. The colleague is surprised and asks if the Okong group is that old to have so much power. The young man's ally confirms she remembers well that Okong is one of the oldest companies in the country. An old image reveals that the company has existed since the Japanese colonial period in the country. They started as a small shop but grew a lot after the liberation, becoming giants. The young man remains pensive with the new information about his enemy's family past. At that moment, the branch manager appears with his clothes torn, looking like he has been attacked. With a furious look, the boss points his finger toward one of the office employees. He accuses the protagonist of having caused some problem, but the young man denies any involvement. The manager then points outside and asks why there is a line of clients looking for him. He had to flee from a crowd of angry clients who mistook him for the rookie. The young man pretends to know nothing while the boss sighs, tired of all that confusion. The leader orders the rookie to take care of the counter all day while he organizes the client list. The young man says it is no problem because he already read and memorized the report days ago to get ahead. The manager gets irritated and says he does not have time for the rookie's games at that moment. With a determined look, the young man thinks he will need to show his talent directly to him. He begins to cite client information from memory, shocking a colleague who is on the phone. Continuously, he describes another client and their stock purchases, proving his great memory. The manager challenges the rookie and cites a client's stocks from memory to test him. Flipping through the papers, the boss realizes that the information stated by the young man was totally correct. A colleague confirms that the data matches the records and the client's history perfectly. The other employees are shocked by the feat and wonder if the rookie is a genius. The manager faces the young man, wide-eyed, and asks how he managed to memorize all of that. With a confident smile, the protagonist responds that he just has an exceptional memory. In a cute way, he asks for a support team, and the boss agrees to arrange help for the boy. With that, the manager asks the young woman from before to help with the clients, and she accepts the task. The leader then shouts at two other employees, ordering them to take care of the line outside. The reincarnated man observes the boss and thinks that he really knows how to handle situations well. The manager turns to the protagonist and orders the young man to go immediately to counter number 3. Thanking them for waiting, the young man sits at his desk with a huge stack of documents. Soon, a client arrives at his desk and asks if he is the manager of the Gangdong branch. He responds that he is not the manager, and the client says the position does not matter because his name is famous. The man says he heard that the young man increased someone's money by 40%, and that he was also the only one who did not recommend Oking stocks, spreading a rumor. The young man just smiles and thanks him for the compliment without giving much importance to the rumor. The client approaches and warns that the president of a company is keeping an eye on him now. The scene cuts to a powerful and intimidating man known as President Han Maung-guk. A rumor says that the lone boss is watching him and that he should be careful. With a sly smirk, the protagonist wonders why that man would be keeping an eye on him. He then reveals that this only makes him want to meet the said president, Han Maung-guk.